Hi everyone, Rysair here with another video for you. Today, I want to share my Chaos Guide for Under Night In-Birth 2 Cis Celeste. I recorded this over 2 days on my stream, and I put together everything that I think is important when playing Chaos in this game. So I hope you enjoy, I hope you learned something from it. Be sure to drop a like and a subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I'll catch you next time on my stream on twitch.tv/RysairVT or on this channel if you want to see more Under Night Chaos action. Thanks all. Alright, so hello everyone and welcome to my Chaos Guide for Under Night In-Birth 2 Cis Celeste. In this guide, I'm going to talk a little bit about what Chaos does in this version, break down all of his moves, and give a bit of strategy, beginner, intermediate, and high-level strategy for stuff that you can do when playing this character. Hopefully it'll be applicable to people of all levels, people just picking up the character, as well as people who want to further expand their knowledge of the character. I know most of, if not all of, what he's got going on in this game. While I don't always implement it all myself, so I'm going to break down pretty much everything that I know about this character and try to present it in a way that is digestible as well as practical. And use disclaimer. As a disclaimer to start off here, this is a guide on the character, not on the game. I won't be explaining too many concepts about the game in this guide, so I'm not going to explain Vorpal. I'm not going to explain cycle. I'm not going to explain the input and how to talk about inputs. I'm just going to be talking as though you understand the game. So that's my forewarning. This is a guide on the character, not on the game. If you want to translate some of what I'm talking about, or if you want some more info on the game, there's plenty of resources out there. You can go find them. But we're talking about Chaos specifically today. So, yeah. Okay, so that's 5A, 6 frames. So slow relative to other 5 frames. Distance, comparable. Nothing too special. Nothing too special. 2A. 2A is very good. 2A is also 6 frames, but it is a low. It cannot be blocked standing. So Seth will block, 5A. Oh, let me get my... let's not go to the right corner. So Seth will block 5A. He will not block 2A when standing. 2A, a very strong, important pressure tool. Unblock, -2. Not bad, not great. Nothing, I would say nothing exceptional. Being low on this character, though, means a lot. So 2A, very strong. 5B, 8 frames. Sticks out quite far. -5 on block, so not great on block. But he has 5BB, which is a command normal that comes after it, that you can do on whiff. So 5B almost always has 5BB coming behind it, and 5BB launches. So, decent. Very good poke, because even on whiff, you can turn it into a further poke. It will only whiff cancel into 5BB. But yeah, it's a good button to poke out with. 8 frames. Again, Chaos, not the fastest in the world with his buttons at their relative speeds. But this move, way better than it may look on paper. This move is very, very strong. A 2B, 9 frames, also a low. -2 on hit, -3 on block. Decent thing to end strings with. You can go like that. It is a low. It does low check. So Chaos has 2A, 2B, and 2C are all lows. So he can do multiple lows in a string, which is always good. And again, it has a decent stagger window. I should mention that too. All of Chaos's buttons have a really good stagger window. Like you can go long. That one I missed on that one, but you can go long on staggering his buttons. So, very good stagger window on all of this. A lot of them are lows. His Blockstring game is very, very strong, just based on his normals alone. 5C, 11 frames. Pretty strong move here too. Similarly to 5BB, there is 5CC that can be whiff canceled into. That also launches. So 5BB or 5CC are kind of what get your combos started. They are your launchers. You can also do 5BB-C. Excuse me, 5BB-C, and then do an air combo. 5C, extremely good. Again, not that fast at 11 frames, but from a range of like here, you are threatening a mash out that will hit them, which is like, that's huge. So the button by itself is huge, and the follow-up can come out on whiff, and that swings upward a little bit, as you can see. So sometimes you even catch them like trying to jump, which is very, very good. 5C, probably his best button. I guess worth mentioning while we're on C buttons, he's safe on rebeat. -2, pretty standard. I think even in these are less good. But you don't really rebeat out of those. So rebeat out of 5C. Worth mentioning, by the way, 5BB can be staggered into more normals. 5CC cannot. 5CC, you have to special cancel this if you go this far in your string. You have to do like a special move, or you have to die, I guess. On hit, it's cancelable into other normals, but on block, it's not. 2C, again, you can rebeat it. It's a very far-reaching low. On counter hit, you get a full combo if you want. Which is true for most characters, 2Cs, right? Very good button. I love poking out with this button, especially after I've been pressuring with Ozzy, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I love poking out with this button from like this range and just seeing if they press something. And if it counter hits, you get a combo. So that's his standing buttons. He also has dashing B and dashing C. Dashing B, 10 frames. Has head invulnerability. You can anti-air. It's not the best in the world. It requires a little bit of prediction, because if you do it like as a reaction, even that punished, wow. But if you do it as a reaction, you will get clipped sometimes. Yeah, like right there. You can hit it fast, but it is a dash move. So the input, it's not like a one button anti-air like a 2C or a 3C or a force function that anti-airs. So be aware of that. It's not the fastest in the world, but it is an option. So don't neglect it. 5BB does have that same property, but it obviously is tied to 5B. So the bottom line there is Chaos has no reliable reactive anti-air. So that's another thing we can put on the cons list. He's no 5-frame normal, no reactive anti-air. You got to kind of predict that your opponent's going to jump. 66C-C is a chop that will knock down. See how they fall on their butt there? This is a great way to get them back to the ground after an air combo. It'll knock them down like that, and you can actually combo into 2C. And then do special moves, which we'll talk about as special moves in a second. So yeah, 66C, incredibly good combo tool. Also pretty fast, 11 frames. So there are some setups that you can do that involve like your opponent's blocking, but you get them blocking, and then you do 66C as your follow-up attack because it moves you forward. Like you could just as similarly do like 66B or 5CC there, but I like to do 66C there because if it hits them, it's going to knock them down into that Aussie setup that I did. So it's got its uses here and there, but it's largely just a combo tool. Air normals, JA. JA is extremely strong on Chaos. Very fast, or I shouldn't say very fast. It's fast. It's a JA, and it gets you off the ground, and it hits at this downward angle. So what it's really good for is if the opponent runs up and tries to throw you, you can actually JA, dodge the throw, and because they're trying to throw, they're standing, so they'll get hit. And actually Chaos gets a full combo on standing. There's actually a really cool one you can do that I saw the other day. And the other day was today. JA, extremely good. Also allows him to do a 191 AD. JB is just a JB. It can cross up. Be kind of janky. It's got that Street Fighter hitbox. Count. It's about all I'll say about JB. It's a jumping button. JC, largely combo tool. You can actually see it as kind of a janky hit realm, like, its hitbox kind of stinks. It's not a great jump-in button. JB is a better jump-in button. And then this next button, J2C, is his best jump-in button, which you should do after assault. Pretty much every time. You can do JA or J2C. He also has some command normals. Dashing A plus B, snake around, is a roll move. This move gains head invuln pretty quickly. Not immediately, again, so like you can use it to like get out of... You can use it to get out of situations where your opponent might be doing something like that. Something like this, where they'll like be trying to assault you. But what it's really useful for is it just moves him across the screen quickly. This move is projectile invuln, so it'll go through projectiles. This move has mild strike invuln. And so using this in combination with Creeping Edge lets Chaos move pretty freely around the screen and get close to his opponent if he wants. It's not worth overlooking, but it's not some amazing broken move. He has 6C, which is the wall. 6C, let me change the opponent's dummy character really quick. 6C is a hitbox that can then be canceled into a roll by pressing C again. You have to press 6C again, technically speaking, and then you get a full combo. This move's quite good against projectile characters because it will reflect all projectiles. It will reflect. He even says reflect, as you can see. So you can use it pretty much on reaction to projectiles, and yeah, it's very, very good. And you can even, if it hits a projectile, you can even roll cancel it with the 6C follow-up. So you don't actually have to make contact with your opponent to get this roll cancel. You can use it as a movement tool, especially against things like Batista Gem or Yak Webs, things that will get hit by it, and then it'll give you like almost a faster roll or an awkwardly timed roll that your opponent might not be ready for, and then you can get a full combo off of that. Force functions. He has 2 force functions in this version, and they're both very strong. The first one, 5 BC, is a fire breath that Ozzy will shoot the opponent to the other side of the screen if it makes contact. It's fast. It starts up in like 19 frames, 19 or 20 frames, depending how close Ozzy is, and is very good again in the projectile battle. If you know your opponent's going to throw a projectile, you can just flame breath it, and then just like the shields, you can actually cancel into other Ozzy moves. So if I can get Ozzy close enough, you can actually get Ozzy to go over there, do a combo, and proceed. So that's flame. 2FF sends him to the other side of the screen and attacks from behind. This move is invulnerable on the way up. So if you use it with Ozzy's other moves, it creates a really bad situation for the opponent that actually creates such that you can create gapless Blockstrings or a frame trap situation should you desire. Very, very strong move. So those are his force functions. Special moves. So all of Chaos's special moves are tied to Ozzy. And it's about time I talk about Ozzy, who's been on the screen for this entire time. Ozzy is Chaos's lizard that will stick close to him wherever he moves, unless you are holding down a button. So if you hold any button, A, B, or C, D, of course, will concentrate, so D doesn't work. Ozzy will walk forward. That is true in neutral or in combos. You can actually during combo, oops, lost my dog. You can actually do, during combos, you can hold the button down and you can see Ozzy will continue walking towards the opponent. If you are not holding a button, Ozzy will again follow Chaos. So you can use this in conjunction, these two properties in conjunction with each other, to position Ozzy basically wherever you want on the screen. It's hard to tell right now, but Ozzy is a darker shade of gray than he is when he's using his moves. So if I do a move, see how he kind of lightens up? He can be hit when he is lighter. So there's light and there's dark. So when Ozzy is not doing something, he is completely invulnerable. He has no hitbox, no hurtbox. It's as though he's not there. Only when a move is used that utilizes Ozzy does he become both able to hit the opponent, and he will also block their way. So if I have Wagner try to run towards me, if Ozzy uses a move, he will body block her. Even when not active, he will press up against her and basically body block what she's trying to do and prevent her from getting over me. So that's when he's active. He can be hit, and he can hit the opponent when he's doing his moves. His moves are all tied to Ozzy's special move, or excuse me, his moves are all tied to Chaos's special moves. 236A is a slashing attack that goes forward. 236B is a slashing attack that goes upwards. 236C does 2 slashing attacks. 214A is a fireball. 214B is also a fireball. These moves can be increased to shoot 2 fireballs. 236B can also be increased, I should mention. That it can go up at a little bit of a delay on it, makes it a little stronger. 623A is a tail whip. 623B is also a tail whip. 623B can be increased to tail whip twice. These moves, when chained together, form the basis of Chaos's combo game. So Chaos does combos by using his moves in conjunction with Ozzy's moves in order to bounce the opponent around, in order to launch the opponent and set up favorable situations. How are these moves used? 236A is basically a poke that you can use to try to stop the opponent and start any of your sequences from full screen away. So 236A is your bread and butter poke with Ozzy. 236B is an upward move, upward slanted move. So it can be used as an anti-air. It will beat, it is air unblockable, it will beat most air options. It is very, very strong, and if you increase it, it really beats basically any air option. It's just active all the way up. 623 and 214 can be used in neutral. They're pretty good, but I would say they are largely combo tools. I encourage you to get creative with these moves because there are times where the fireballs can be used as fireballs. You know, you can play a zoning game. You can send Ozzy at them after the fireball. You can do a lot of stuff. You know, there's a lot of ways to interchange these, and I'll give some suggestions in my beginner, intermediate, advanced strategy segments. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's about being fluid with them and using them in a way that makes sense to you, that also works with what your opponent's trying to do. Because in different matchups, you're going to have to use different things as well. Worth noting, they are all cancelable into each other on hit. So on hit or on block, you can do any Ozzy move into any other Ozzy move. You can do one of each Ozzy move per combo. And I guess it's a good time to highlight the green diamond up at the top of the screen, right under Chaos's health bar. That green diamond tells you if Ozzy's moves have recharged. So it'll turn red as I use moves, and then once I'm done with my combo, it'll turn back to green. The way that works is if that's red, that means some or all of Ozzy's moves have been used up. It won't tell you which ones that you have to keep track of, but if you use moves and you want to know when they're going to be back and ready to use again, you wait for it to turn green. The condition for which it turns green is that both Ozzy and Chaos have not attacked. They have both recovered to neutral. So if I use a move and then start comboing as Chaos, you can see it stays red even though Ozzy's doing nothing. And similarly, if I do Ozzy moves, even though Chaos is standing still basically, even if Chaos isn't doing anything besides calling Ozzy, that will of course stay red as well. If he gets hit, he also disappears and it turns red. Or it turns gray, excuse me. If Ozzy gets hit, that will disappear and turn gray. and it will come back when you can summon Ozzy again. So keep an eye on that if Ozzy gets knocked out. And it's about that long. It's about 2 seconds that he's gone. So not too bad. That doesn't affect if you're doing anything. Like, you can be comboing your opponent, and that will still come back, even if Ozzy's done. So you don't have to, like, stay still. You don't have to, like, do anything special once Ozzy gets knocked out. You just have to wait that set amount of time, and then look for that diamond to turn green again. Even if you start a combo while he's knocked out, you can call him during the combo if that turns green again. He has one other special move. He has down down or 2-2, which is burrow. There are 2 versions. 2-2A burrows him where he is standing immediately. 2-2B burrows him forward, which puts him not always at the enemy. It puts him a set distance forward. So it doesn't go all the way to the enemy ever. It goes a set distance forward. Even if it won't go full screen. Yeah. So 2-2A for an immediate set. 2-2B for a little slower set that sends him forward. This set will activate if the opponent gets close or after a set amount of time. The set amount of time, as you can see, is not very long. About a second or 2. But if the opponent is close enough when that set happens, it'll happen immediately. So that was the normal timing. If I'm right next to Wagner, he immediately pops out. So you can use it in combos for that reason. Or you can use it in neutral games. So, like, we've seen Ozzy get knocked out by Wagner's 5A a couple times now. If I use that move as a frame trap, Ozzy will actually dodge the 5A and will hit Wagner. And that's because on top of it burrowing, when he activates, he is invincible until he roars. So he cannot be hit until he roars. And he will only roar if this gets hit or blocked. So if we have her guard, or excuse me, if it whiffs or gets blocked. We didn't have time to see him roar there, but he was starting up the roar. Yeah, so that roar animation where he reels back a little bit and roars, he's hittable during that, but he's not hittable during the actual hitbox of that move. So it's almost like Ozzy's VP. You wouldn't use it as such, but that's a good way to think about it. If it's blocked or whiffs, Ozzy can get punished for it. So that's 2-2A, 2-2B. 2-2C does track to the opponent. So even full screen, 2-2C will go to the opponent. And it has the same timing as 2-2B. So it's not instant, but it's pretty fast. And it will go to the opponent. And I like to do things like 2-2C CS and then see what they do about it. I didn't mention the EXs of the Fireball and the Tail Whip. They are just bigger versions of the Fireball and the Tail Whip. Again, no real special properties to those. His Infinite Worth is a puddle that will track the opponent. It's a combo ender. It's a punishment tool. If someone's doing something from full screen, you can snipe it out with IW. Just be careful. If they have meter or if they have CS, they can, in response to your super flash, answer that exact situation. So here's a good example. Rolling. So yeah, he'll get you. Be careful if your opponent has meter or CS, because they can cancel into an option that will punish you for trying to snipe them with super. But it's also his only truly invulnerable option. So when being pressured, CS IW is pretty much your only reversal option. Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about is a little complicated, but it's the last of Ozzy's special moves, and it's his stance. So anytime I say stance from here on, I'm referring to this. Stance is done by holding a button down, pressing the down input twice, and then releasing the button. This is a special action that gets Ozzy into this stance. Ozzy is invuln during this stance. As you can see, Ozzy can't be hit. And it changes the properties of all of his moves. So it makes all of his moves different when you do them out of the stance. So you can stance up Ozzy while you're doing combos. It changes the properties of the moves. It's very strong. And he has a special property that when he is in stance, the opponent gets pushed into it. The opponent himself can walk through Ozzy. Or excuse me, cannot walk through Ozzy. So when Ozzy is stanced up, he actually forms a wall that cannot be moved past. Even if Akatsuki tries to, you know, he's pushing Ozzy, he's not getting his full backdash. So he actually gets the body block property when he's in stance, which is a unique thing to that. So stance, here's how stance changes his moves. Fireball is the easy one. It doesn't really change Fireball. So the only difference for stance 623 tail whip is normal tail whip comes out in 23 frames. Stance tail whip comes out in 20 frames. You don't have to worry about it except for anything besides it creates a frame trap. That doesn't exist otherwise. So take, for example, Akatsuki 5Aing here. If I 5C tail whip, I'm getting counter hit, right? If I go 5C into tail whip, I'm getting counter hit. If I'm in stance, I counter hit him. That 3 frames makes C buttons into tail whip counter hit. If that is not something you're like, I don't get it. If you're like, I don't get that, don't worry about it. That's literally the use case for stance tail whip. So if you have them in a situation where like Ozzy is stance and keeping them trapped, you can get a frame trap with 623 off of a C normal instead of the normal buttons that you could get a frame trap off of. It's not a huge deal, but it does come up sometimes. Stance 2-2 basically just makes it come out faster, which is especially useful for stance 2-2C. It hits them basically immediately. Tracking full screen 23 frame bullet is stance 2-2C. Otherwise, you don't really see stance 2-2 a lot. And the big one, the big reason to use stance though, is it changes 236A to that. Instead of just being 236A, which is that. Hold on, let me have Akatsuki not beat up Ozzy. So that's 236A. That's stance 236A. You can see it's way more hits. It puts you at plus 26 instead of minus 8. So it puts them in way more lockdown. And it creates his signature mix-up, which I'll talk about when we talk about mix-ups. Stance 2-2B also does it. He just does the B follow-up instead of the A follow-up. And I guess if we're getting technical, stance 236C does 236C after he does the stance. I don't think there's really much use for it, though. Okay, so that covers pretty much all of his moves and what they do. There's a lot to that. And again, a lot of what Chaos does is about freeform. So as far as like what his moves do, take it at that value. The real strength of Chaos is being able to chain all of his moves into each other. And I'm going to show some good examples of that now. So, talking about Blockstrings. Let's talk about Blockstrings. What do you want to do when you get your opponent blocking? Well, a very simple thing that Chaos should strive to do when causing his opponent to block is get an Ozzy attack and then cancel it into a very fast normal of Chaos's. The best example is 236A into 5A. You can see I'm plus 9 there, plus 8, plus 9. Depends how quickly you press the 5A. It depends how far away Ozzy is. It depends on a couple factors. But generally speaking, you get up to plus 9 here, which is huge. So in any block string, Ozzy move into a normal is plus 9, and you're in a really good spot because, as we said before, 5C is 11 frames. That creates a frame trap. So even if Akatsuki is jabbing, he gets fat counter hit if I just press 5C there. And if he keeps blocking, I have another Ozzy move I can do, and that's also plus 9. Plus 8 in this case. You know, it's going to be a little variable based on when you hit the button. But largely speaking, you're plus a lot. You can, as mentioned before, get up to plus 9. And after you are +9, I won't be +9 every single time up there, but just know that you can be +9. You have a couple follow-up options. Your first one is just 2C. Oops, I didn't read. Hold on. Your first one is just 2C. That's going to reach. It has 12 frames. So if they press something that's you're +9 and it's 12 frames, so if they press anything 4 frames or slower, which that's every normal in the game, they will get counter hit, and you can get a pickup off of that. Hands today. There you go. You get a full pickup off of that. You will, I guess, worth mentioning, for any of these strategies, for any of these situations that you're trying to use, any Aussie moves you use before your opponent has a chance to act are not going to be available. So for example here, I didn't have 236A, and it also uses a couple bounces. So definitely practice your confirms after them, but that's one way to open somebody up. Another thing you can do is dash 5C. It's a little harder, but it gives a way bigger reward. Not dash C, dash 5C. This one requires you to be a lot closer to the +9 threshold. This one is quite hard to hit. As you can see, I'm missing it a couple times here. I don't really go for it unless I'm fairly confident that I'm going to hit it, because we're even doing it against Hyde's 5A here, which is slower than a lot of characters normally. It does reach far, though. There you go. So you can get the hit there. You can go 5C, 2C, or sometimes you can go 5CC. It's tricky, I'll admit. Against characters with stubbier normals, it's really, really good, though, because a lot of times, even if they press something fast, it'll just whiff. Just like that, right? That's a pretty big situation. That's a pretty common situation against most of the cast. If they have a longer range button, trust me, it is doable. It is just very tough. If you're in the corner, both of these things I just mentioned are super easy. You don't have to dash or anything, so you can just go +9, 5CC, full confirm into whatever you want. So in the corner, this becomes a lot stronger because you can do it twice even. Right, if he continues to block. That is the basic element of Chaos's game plan. Now you might be saying, well, what if you use both of these and they still are blocking? Right? Uh-oh. I ran out of moves. I don't have any Aussie moves because, as we said before, if you use Aussie moves, you can't use them again while Chaos or Aussie are acting. So when you run out of moves, you have one more option that's quite strong. And it's any C normal. So 5C, 5CC, or 2C into 2-2A. Chaos himself is -4, but then Aussie has his back. So because 4 frames is lower than the fastest normal, even if they try to press 5A there, they'll appear to be getting a turn, right? But Aussie will come out and keep you safe. And you're -4, so the only characters in the game that can punish you, I think actually the only character in the game that can punish you is Waldstein, who has a 3-frame command grab. So if you do it against Waldstein, you get, because you're -4 and he's doing a 3-frame command grab. So don't do it against Waldstein. Everyone else, I believe you're good against. I don't know if, like, say, Ank's new command grab is 3 frames, or if Mika can do a 3-frame option there. But largely speaking, you're fine. Also, I guess worth mentioning, if somehow you're in, like, point-blank throw range at the end of your block string, that will also punish. Throw is 4 frames. So if they're doing ground throw, oops. Hello. That will also punish. But, I mean, to be in that range on a C normal, right, you know, usually you're out of throw range. That's the basic block string theory of Chaos. Use your really long stagger windows, as well as generating plus frames, to keep the pressure on and make your opponent flinch. and then work in really strong strike throw. One thing that I'll add though is if they're really nasty with it and they can outright shield your C button, that's actually a punish because it's -4, right? But the shield makes it -7. So if I had a nickel for every time Byakuya shield 5-aid my 5cc, 2-2A situation, I would have a couple nickels. So definitely look out for that. That's just something to be aware of when abusing the kind of level 1 tactics, is there is counterplay. It's small. And likewise, if they're just trying to shield this on a whim, you have throw pressure. You have things like that. So that's your close range pressure. Another thing I like to do when I'm blockstringing the opponent, after I've established that I'm doing a lot of staggers and plus frames and things like that, right? Once I've established all the staggers, one of my favorite normals in the game is 5B. 5B you can see is -5. It's pretty unsafe. It's jab punishable by a lot of the cast. You can space it out a little bit, but what I like to do with 5B is catch green shields. If they green shield 5B, you get to grid break throw them. And you might be asking, well, if that's such a threat, why would they green shield 5B? And the answer to that question is, of why would they green shield, is 5B is almost always followed up with 5BB. So it's only natural to press green shield on 5B, because then you'll get a shield on 5BB, which gives you grid. So pay attention for that. It's a small thing that gets me a lot of grid breaks and gets me a lot of situations. But if you abuse it, you are -5 here again. So like hide 2A would punish if I no cancel. But right, like we have a very big stagger window on that button. So it's very threatening to press there. So like I said, what a lot of people opt to do is green shield. That's a very good mind game that I like to use. Also in blockstring situations, force function is +2, and this is a janky frame trap. Force function into 214A is also a frame trap. So if they press something, you get a counter hit. And it's a little hard to confirm, but you can use more Aussie moves off of it. So when you're doing like your string way up close on them, oopsies, hold on. If you're doing your string up close on them like this, that can turn into a frame trap that can then possibly confirm into something that you're looking for, which is pretty strong, actually. You also have a full screen mind game pressure, which I'm a huge fan of. And it looks a little something like this. It starts with Aussie 236A. You have a couple options from here. You can 236A nothing. You can 236A 623A, and you can 236A charge 236B. You can technically do any move, but I'm only going to explore these options. You can also FF, 2FF if you want. So there's a lot of things you can do there. And they all play into different things that the opponent might be trying to do. So to start at layer 1, if you 236A and do nothing, they will kill Aussie. They can use any button they want, and they'll just kill Aussie. So what you want to do in that case is 236A, 623A. That gives you a counter hit. 236A, which gives you a full combo, by the way. If this counter hits, 22A, you can run all the way up, and you can do whatever you want for a combo. It uses a couple bounces, just like that other confirm I showed, but yeah. So if they're mashing immediately, you can do that. So what they'll start doing is they'll start delay mashing. They'll wait like a few frames. Because if they wait long enough, that's just a true block string. So 236A, 623A beats them mashing. Now if they continue to block and they don't mash, they can just farm grid off of this, which wants you to then go back to doing other follow-ups. You want to do either wait, if they're just going to keep blocking, and concentrate yourself, or you want to do like 2FF and actually start pressure if they're going to stay defensive. Another thing they might do is green shield. Green shield is something pretty common that you see here. You get a shield, you get so much grid for farming Aussie. Again, that you can actually bait that by just doing nothing. So It's a mind game of back and forth with 236A, 236A, 623A, and then the last one to put on top of that is 236A, 22A. That one might look a little weird because that's a lot slower. Like, if they just mash, this actually doesn't punish. Oh, it punishes hide, but it doesn't punish a lot of 5As. Let me grab Linne again. It's not going to punish a lot of 5As. Yeah, see, Linne is able to block it. Hides is just slower. What this prevents is this. A lot of times what people are going to try to do is they're going to block Ozzy and try to run in. Oops, she has to block it, sorry. They're going to try to block Ozzy and run in. Man, stop. So what 22A does is it stops them from running in. He body blocks them, and then they have to realize what's happening. But a lot of times in my experience, no matter how good they are, my opponents will sometimes just be looking at my side of the screen and not realize that they were body blocked by Ozzy. Beautiful. And you get a huge starter for that. So full screen, those are the options I would recommend starting by cycling. 236A, nothing. 236A, 623A, and look for a counter hit. And then 236A, 22A. If you mix up those options, you get a lot of... Can you cancel 22A into something so they can't mash between the hits? He's invincible during the hits, in between the hits. So the answer is no. If they block it, you can't cancel it. But if it makes contact, you're fine. Because what I like to do in that situation, so if they're going to mash after 22A, let's say, to try to kill Ozzy, I like to run in behind and 2C counter hit them. Which is a little harder to do. Like that. I like to try to run in behind Ozzy, and if they're going to mash after the bite, I want to run in and try to cover him with like 2C, 5A rebeat, or like 6C is a good way to cover him, because he's there blocking, or even just like run up, they whiff, run up, throw, or something like that. Okay. The other full screen mind game you can play is 236A, 2FF. And that is going to send Ozzy behind the opponent. Yeah, try to cover Ozzy with Chaos. In that case, you can look out for it in the matches that I'm going to play later, because at the end of the day, it is all about both of these characters working together, and you can't rely on just one or the other. So you can do 2FF. And what I like to do on top of 2FF is I like to actually buffer the set. So I hold BC, I buffer down, down, and then let go of BC when I first activate it. And that puts Ozzy behind them in the stanced situation. This is very hard for a lot of characters to deal with. Right? You get your actual sandwich mix-up from full screen if they do nothing about it. So this is another thing you can do if the opponent's being passive. You can also just 2FF, right? And then just pressure more. This can be gapless. If we set her to reversal, after the 2FF comes out, even from this distance, it can be a counter hit, or if you're fast enough, you can actually set up gapless pressure off of all that. She was mashing as much as possible with 5A. So this could be a gapless full screen sandwich situation. If they block the 2FF, right? So that could be gapless if you want. Or you can set up a frame trap off of it. If you think your opponent's getting overzealous, you just wait a hair, and then that'll be a frame trap. So, lots of good stuff you can do off of that. Ozzy is invincible on the way up, as we discussed earlier, so the only things that stop him are either a jump back jab or a really privileged jab that hits behind. So like Wagner, Carmine actually has one, funny enough. But we'll use Wagner as the example. Her jab hits behind her. So, in that case, she can actually hit Ozzy after his invuln wears off. But most of the cast can, and you can then play around that. Because even if you do it and they jump back jab to kill him, you get so much space, and they might be stuck in the air for like 5cc or 5bb, depending on your spacing. This is a very strong tactic. 236A, 2FF. because not to mention, you're mixing that in with 236A, 623A, 236A burrow, 236A no cancel, and you're concentrating this whole time. 236A force function into 214A, which is also a frame trap. So I guess the two states of being with the full screen mind game is, are they trying to farm grid from you, or are they mashing? If they're trying to farm grid from you, use the opportunity to set up a really messed up mix-up. If they're mashing, punish them with everything you got. Sandwich mind game. Okay, I talked about this one a little bit, but generally our goal with Chaos is to get the opponent in a sandwich situation, which this is a very basic combo that does it. I'll show combos in a second, or in a little bit, but this is your very basic combo that gets them in a sandwich situation, which looks like this. Chaos is on one side, Ozzy's on the other. You get a million 2As. Right, so like that's super strong. You can stagger all of those 2As. They're all lows. You can go in like this, and you can do more. And at any point, you can turn it into a 50-50 left-right. Or, with the new tech, you can turn it into what is effectively a 50-50 high-low. Like that. It's very strong. This is win con, more or less. So we set up Ozzy, and I'll talk about everything you can do here. And it's not a ton, because at the end of the day, you're basically just doing your corner block string on them with the enhanced version of Ozzy's moves. So here are the ways to open somebody up in this situation. 2A, look for green shields. Right? Because they're going to want to get you out. It's so easy if you stagger green shield, or stagger 2As here. It's so easy to catch a green shield. You know, I missed it there. But sometimes people are even mashing shield here. And you can just grid break them, and that's such a bad spot for them. They'll almost always VO or reversal after that. Which is, of course, not financial advice. But definitely something I've noticed in my travels. Okay. So, sandwich situation. Number 1, infinite 2As. Technique number 1, infinite 2As. Technique number 2, any C normal into tail whip, specifically in stance, is a frame trap. It's not normally a frame trap. And you can do whatever. But if I don't have stance, I get smoked. So the stance lessens the startup of the tail whip by 3 frames. So this becomes a true frame trap. And if they continue blocking, I think you're +6. Oops, they blocked my 2A in the middle of that, or 5A in the middle of that. So vanilla, you're +3, which is pretty good. It means 5A frame traps. Yeah, you have to use all your normals, and then you can get a whiffed 5A rebeat, which makes you more plus. I have to do DP there. My muscle memory is on the 236. You see, I'm +7. I thought it was +6. You're actually +7 if you can get that rebeat to whiff, which is kind of neat. Because then being +7 next to them means that is a frame trap, which is way stronger. Okay, so we have 623A frame. We have infinite 2As, 623A frame trap. The bread and butter in this situation is the 236 into left-right 50-50 roll mix-up. This is a little different in this version of the game. Because you can't just cancel the 2-2 into the roll. You have to dash and then roll. But every property of it stays basically the same, so I'm just going to talk about it like it's basically the same. But disclaimer, there will be times where you will get like 5-8 by Wagner if you don't do it right, or if the timing's a little different or the spacing's a little different. You might get grabbed sometimes, which used to not happen as much, because the difference between this and clear is instead of doing this and then just pressing B+C to roll to the other side, you have to actually get a little dash in there. And so it's a couple frames sometimes as you buffer the dash. You can do it first frame of dash, though. So, like, you don't have to... You technically don't have to sacrifice frames. But there will be times where it won't work out. Don't let that dissuade you. This is still an extremely powerful tool. So I mentioned it a little bit last time, but the way this works is Ozzy and Chaos, if they're on opposite sides of the opponent cannot be crossed up. So if they're on opposite sides of the opponent, they'll just block towards Chaos and be fine. Or I guess the best way to put it is, like, if I have Ozzy on the other side and then I do an attack with Ozzy, let's do, what would be the best way to demonstrate this? Let me do 2-2-B. No, I want Ozzy on this side. So I'm going to do 2-2-B and then roll through. There is no universe where that would ever be a cross-up. There's no timing, no universe where that would be a cross-up. Even though Chaos did cross them up, Ozzy was still on that same side. So it works very similarly to how Seth Orbs used to work. Where, you know, no matter what, if they're on opposite sides... Anyways, I hope you understand what I'm saying. You cannot get a cross-up on the opponent if you are going to the opposite side that Ozzy is on. You can only get a cross-up if your act of crossing them up goes to the same side that Ozzy's on. So when Ozzy and Chaos meet on the same side, if that crosses up the opponent, that will be a cross-up. And that's how it works. So it's great in the sandwich situation because that's exactly what we're doing. We're doing 2-3-6-A into 2-2-A and then dashing to the other side. So they will have to change their guard if they want to block it. The mix-up to this is you can just go 2A. They won't, you know, they'll just get hit by the 2A. There is counterplay to this. And the counterplay looks like this. It looks like a green shield. Go figure. Yeah, there you go. If you green shield it, you will automatically block on both sides. That is universal counterplay if I'm doing the roll mix-up. So if I cross up, it won't cross up. And if I same side, it won't hit. So if you're just crouch blocking and you green shield, the second hit of the claw, that's what happens. That is how a lot of people like to counterplay this. Some people try to mash. Some people try to, like, veil off. Veil off does not work. A lot of reversals don't work. So if we have, like, veil off as an option, that's one you see a lot. You just, you know, you're just asking to die. And then you're right back in the same situation, so... Yeah, most reversals just whiff. So yeah, this mix-up is very hard to deal with. A lot of people want a green shield. Thankfully, we have counterplay to the green shield. If they want to green shield, just grab them. Just set Ozzy and grab them. So if you notice they're using that counterplay a lot, you have that as your counterplay. So the mind game becomes left, right. Right, that's level 1. Then, do they green shield or not? And then, once you start trying to throw, are they reversaling or not? Very skewed in your favor. So that's the basic idea of the sandwich mix-up. I'm also going to show a Blockstring here. Disclaimer, this is kind of advanced. But there is a Blockstring you can do that forces sandwich mix-up mid-screen off of a 2A. And the notation is a little tough. That is a gapless sandwich mix off of a 2A, if they block it. And also with the advent of the new mix-up, you can do that in a sandwich situation too. So if you don't even want to mess with the 50-50, you can just do the high-low in a sandwich situation. That's the basic sandwich 50-50. You also get a huge confirm if it hits. So yeah. There is one other thing I want to lay out about this mix-up, and it's a little more technical, but it is something that's cool about it, is there's actually 4 timings for this mix-up. You can see that this is 2 hits. It says 3, but I'm talking about the down part. It has 2 hits. It goes doot-doot when it hits. You can cancel into 2-2A off of the first one or the second one. And you can cancel into 2-2B off of the first one or the second one. 2-2B being a slower version of 2-2A. So what this does is it creates 4 timings. 1 hit 2-2A, you're plus 12. So you're very, very plus. That's all it's for. You can use it to catch like awkward times, basically. That's the least useful one. 2 hits 2-2A, that's your standard roll mix. That's what we've been doing. 1 hit 2-2B puts you at 0, but it gives you a combo throw. I think it can actually be plus though, but it gives you a combo throw, and that you only do that if you're going for the combo throw. So you can be mashed out there. If she decides to 5A there, I will lose. Okay. So 1 hit 2-2A, little tricky, or excuse me, 1 hit 2-2B, little tricky. So the last thing is 2 hit of this, and then 2-2B. That puts you at plus 6, which is pretty strong. So if she mashes anything, you get a counter hit, and Ozzy's set there. So very strong. I like to do 2A, 2C, because that creates a gap as well on that, and confirms if it all hits. So. Yeah. So that is the sandwich mix in a nutshell. The sandwich mix also allows you to do the Kara FF mix, which you don't actually need anything to set up. Kara FF mix is pressing 5B and then plinking B into C. What that'll do is that you'll see Chaos hop off the ground a little bit. It gives you a plink of those 2 buttons. Oopsies. Which the game it gives you a plink of those 2 buttons, which the game registers as you pressing 5B and then B plus C. If you look at my inputs on the side, that's because a button is red when it's both pressed down and pressed and released. So I'm getting 2 B presses for the price of 1, basically, by plinking it into 5C, or into BC. And on that hop, you can do a 5A fast overhead. Oopsies. I'm messing it up now. There you go. On the 5A, you can get a fast overhead, which is very, very strong. That can be mashed on, but it's risky because it's on a 5B. Once they start seeing that, you can go just into 2C off of the force function. You can just go into 2C off the force function. Creates a low option, also very strong. So when they're in the sandwich mix, when they're expecting a left-right, you can just do the force function mix. You can do the 5B, B plus C force function mix, or just B plus 2. The force function comes out. You're just plus 2 anyways. So something nice to mix into your sandwich mix-up game. This is still very new tech. I don't know anything else you can particularly do with it. You can get high enough off the ground to get a JB out, which is really strong, because that's just really fat and chunky, like at plus 12. And yeah, it creates a gap. So if they do mash, you can get hit, or Ozzy can die, right? But then you just stagger 5BB and get one of your best starters. Defense. So I won't spend too much time on defense. Chaos has very few defensive options. You will have to block a lot. You will have to shield at proper timing. Shielding assaults is very important against Chaos. He has 2 particularly good OSs, though. Well, I guess they're 2 different OSs, but they answer the same thing. They both answer throw as well as assault. So he has 171 AD, which is jump back shield OS, which, you know, you can punish that with. Or 191 AD, which is the one I like to use, which is jump forward JA OS, which text throw, right? Sometimes you even outright beat throw, like that. And you get a full combo. Huge reward off of 191 AD as Chaos. So I'm gonna have Wagner stop running her offense. But basically you'll have them run at you, and if you connect with this, if you connect with JA, you go into J2C, 236A Aussie call. And then you can either just continue the Aussie sequence, which is usually what I like to do, or you can do falling JC and actually get like a route like this. So yeah, 191, extremely rewarding. 171, while not as rewarding, is a little safer. It's a little safer. You get you can't get like shielded out of it. They can just wait and do a button, but you get to assault out of the corner and do 236C, which is really fast, as I mentioned, 9 frames. Really disorienting. And lets you take a turn. So 2 ways to get out of the corner that aren't just system mechanics. 171 AD, and then try to assault out and mess up with your air momentum, or just like assault J2C maybe. Or 191, which you'll see me do a lot, which turns it into an offensive. And then also sometimes what will happen is, even if they block the 1-9, you get like this. Which, like, if she presses 5A, it'll actually whiff. And you actually get a chance to, like, take a turn. It's a little weird, but like you do the 1-9, and then once you're on the other side, you call Aussie. That disorients so many people. It's super strong. You can just get out with that. So 191, 171 are your defensive OSs. I wouldn't do too much more. Do use Veil Off liberally. Veil Off is great. It gives you like, you know, 1 or 2 236Cs, which are very good. It pushes them full screen, which is very good. It is fast. Yeah, you just jump yourself. You just simply don't be in the corner. But as mentioned before, this won't be a cross-up, because Aussie and Chaos are on opposite sides. So that cannot be a cross-up. It can be blocked on either side, but it gets them locked down. And you can do stuff like this, right? Because that will be a double overhead. So that's defense. I'm not going to spend too much time on defense. You do have to just kind of block it out a lot of the time. Mashing is very good. Mashing 5C is very good. Mashing 2C is decent. Mashing 2A is good. Okay, combos. And then I'm going to do some miscellaneous tech, and then we're done. I'm only going to show a couple combos. Because, frankly, the mission mode combos are really good in this game. So definitely check those out. But what I like to do is, off of A buttons, I like to try to set up sandwich, which is often done with this combo. This combo cuts out a couple moves in favor of consistency, and largely that's like the 2C after the J2C that's in the mission mode, as well as some of the Aussie moves. So it's just 2ABC, 5CC, J whatever, JBC, 2C. And then in the air still, I do 236C, 236 increase B, 214A, 623 increase B, 66C, hold C, 22 let go. You get a sandwich. And then lastly, I always advocate for using 236C increase. Or sorry, not 236C, just 236C. It does so much damage, and you can still dash over and get sandwich. So there's almost no cost to doing 236C. It does so much damage. 5B starter allows you to do what I call the 6C 2-2 extension, because those are the buttons you use. This is the combo you were referring to. So off of anything that's not an A starter, you could basically get that. This is a tutorial mode combo. And I do think it's his best one to do. But the trick with this that I want to show off is you can basically, off of any starter that isn't A, you can do the same thing off of an OTG. So that's not something a lot of people know. So if you just have like an awkward hit with a 5B starter, I don't know, like let's say she's jumping, and you get like 5B, 5C somehow, and you're like, oh shoot, what do I do? Because the height is weird. Just 2C, 236A, OTG. I did it slow because I was talking. 2C, 236A, 6C, 22B gives you that same ender off of any weird wonky hit. As long as it's not an A button. C starter, same exact thing. I just like to go 5cc, do. OTG. That works, I assure you. Off 6C, I just do a normal 5B air sequence. Sandwich. You will have used an extra bounce, so they won't actually eat that 6-6C. Worth noting, I guess. Off of 2-2A, if you already spent resources, you can do this. Kind of neat. That wasn't all supposed to combo. That just got me another setup. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much combos. I don't do a whole lot of unique combos. I just kind of go for the same routes a lot. Sometimes I'll try to improvise a little bit, have some fun with it. But generally speaking, there's not too much. Last thing I will talk about is some miscellaneous pieces of tech. First miscellaneous piece of tech. Chain Shift resets the entirety of Ozzy's moves. So if you've used moves and CS, you get those moves back. Very useful in situations where the confirm is not obvious. Or, for example, if you've spent all of the moves to open up the opponent. So I'll do 2-3-6A, right? I can't do it again. If I CS, I can do it again. Even though Ozzy's active. So, for whatever reason, CS just resets the green diamond. No matter how many moves you've used or haven't used. So I can even go like... I don't have CS, hold on. So I can even go like this. Right? Like you can do cool stuff like that. You could reuse his moves if you CS. Definitely use it for confirms. Use it for situations. It's very, very good. Okay, speaking of CS, his A+B, this, on block, actually makes him airborne. So if you have CS, you can use like Wagner's little drill CS mix-up as well. This is a lot less relevant now that we have the force function mix-up, where you can just do that without resource. But it's nice as a way to continue pressuring the opponent, and force function can actually cancel into that. So from about here, you can threaten high-low if you force function with Ozzy. It's kind of cool. All right, I just want to thank you all for watching this video. If you made it all the way to the end, that was my chaos guide for Under Night in Birth 2. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments or send me a message on my stream. And if you want to see more content like this, let me know, or let me know how I can modify it to better please you. I appreciate you all for watching. Don't forget to drop a subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.